YouTube family, what's good? You know what time it is. Hey, it's Sports Dad, and I'm getting ready to give you a inside view of my experience with Grand Valley State University, GVSU. All right, so let's jump right into it. Here we go. So here's how it all shook down. Basically, what happened was that my boys went to the camp that they normally have every year, which is called Best of the Midwest. And at this particular camp, it was tons of college coaches there. It's actually the same coaches in the Midwest that were coming out to take a look at kids. And so, long story short, after the camp, we got a phone call from GVSU, and they basically said, hey, they like the way my boys were looking at the camp, and they want to go ahead and extend the offer or whatnot. Cool. And then it was said, we'll get you up on a couple visits or whatnot, and we'll take it from there. It's like, no problem. So we we scheduled a visit, and we went on a visit, and a lot of good things about the school. One beautiful campus, and beautiful facilities. Actually they just actually built a new locker room, and inside of this locker room, I mean, it's almost it's really at a different level. The locker room, you got furniture in there, you got flat screen TVs, video games, the whole nine. It's a really good setup, the locker room. And like I said, it's brand new. I think it was donated by an alumni. They had a few players that went to the NFL and actually donated some funds so that they can have better facilities. And the facilities are really nice. They have the nice field. It's kind of like the bowl style field or whatnot. So it's giving you that whole Division I level feel and everything. So you can't take that away from the school. And like I said, it's just a overall beautiful campus. And when my boys went to the visit or whatnot, they actually really liked the school from that perspective right away. And actually on the visits or whatnot, they take you into the locker room. They let you take pictures in the jerseys and all that good stuff, and then you go into these meetings, these presentations to hear the coaches and talk and tell you a little bit about the school. So and throughout that whole experience, the recruiting guy for the area was basically in touch with my kids the whole entire time, texting them, letting them know, like, hey, we love to have you, want you to be a part of the defense, and you and your brother, and things like that, and really telling them a lot of promising things. And so then we went up on another visit, and we went to a game, and the game was real nice. The game atmosphere was nice. We got a chance to look at it from the perspective of the actual game day and its fullness, and what really happened and all that good stuff. And so all the way up until that point, it was a really good experience. Okay. And so, like I said, you cannot take that away from the school. And so now where they started to lose me at is that I just noticed that there was a shift in the communication, and there was an actual shift in the interaction with my kids or whatnot. So and that's no surprise, because things happen like that all the time, during the recruiting process, which is why most of the time they don't really talk to, they don't really talk to the parent most of the time, and that's why they're on Twitter, most of the time talking to the student or the student athlete, because they have a better chance of, winning over the student athlete, versus actually including the parent. But however, if I did have questions, were able to reach out to them, and they did talk to me from that perspective. So, but I noticed the interaction change. Okay, on the last visit. Now, mind you, we went, on a visit probably maybe three. We went up to Grand Rapids probably like 3-4 times, and it was a 3.5 hour drive. each time. They did not put us, they did not put us in a hotel or anything like that. So if you're expecting that, don't expect that. Long story short, they ended up sending over an offer after the final visit that we had with them, and the offer was was pretty decent. But at that time, I haven't filled out the financial aid requirements just yet. So once I filled out the financial aid requirements and let them know that, then they shot back over another offer, and the offer was significantly lower. And actually, and even the football scholarship money was significantly lower as well. And so, and when they shot that over, there was no explanation behind it. So of course I knew that it had something to do with the financial aid. However, but the football offer, which is, the money, which is what I wanted to talk about, and which is what was concerning to me. And he sent that over, and there was no explanation with that. And so, and that was, after the fact that, the communication kind of went AWOL for a moment. Then my son reached out to the head coach like, hey, we're waiting. My dad did fill out the, financial aid information. We're waiting on, the coach to send over the information. The head coach said, hey, you'll have an offer on Monday at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock Monday came, and we still had nothing. Then all of a sudden, a few days later, there was an offer that came through, was significantly lower with no explanation. So I reached out and said, hey, I would like to talk about this. And so the guy ended up calling me back, and when he called me, he was basically, I felt like he was going around in a circle, and just instead of just coming straight down the street. He ended up talking about, it was the FAFSA information, and they have no control over that and things like that. But in regards to the football money, they decided, that's the offer that they were going to give them. And to me, it seemed like something changed. I don't know if they had some D1, some D1 guys that were, in the transferring portal and were basically transferring, and they wanted to, get those guys over or whatnot. And also too, in the presentation, they kind of let you know in a nutshell that, they don't, they call it putting their college, their team in a bad position, because they have a pool of money that they have to split up, when they're recruiting or whatnot. And so, so they try not to put, all of their dollars or whatnot into, one player. So they try to spread it around and things like that. And so they kind of let and hit around it or whatever. But, I just thought that was, kind of odd. And then even in our conversation, I just told him, I said, listen, either I felt like you guys lost interest in some way, somehow. I felt like your communication, it was no longer consistent. You went inconsistent, and there was some moments of there was no communication. And the school actually pride themselves, is what they say in their presentation, how, they set, realistic expectations, and they come straight down the street. But that wasn't happening. So I was just like, if you guys are no longer interested, like that in my boys, that's perfectly fine. And he was like, you're right, instead of just coming straight down the street and telling me that. Then he said, we still want them, but they would definitely have to come in at what we offered them, and then if things don't work out differently, then they can end up getting more money or whatnot. But I didn't feel comfortable with that. I felt like they were actually trying to lowball us at that point. And by the success that my boys had, over the off season, I thought that spoke volumes. And so, but, they look at the whole, they said that they look at, the whole recruiting process. They get them up for a visit, and then in the visit, they have them work out for probably like maybe 45 minutes, I think, which is, that I don't think that's beneficial at all, but then they also take that into consideration, and things like that. So, I wasn't too happy with that. Another thing I wasn't too happy with is that their approach for recruiting is very cocky. You can tell in their whole presentations that like they have a really, really cocky approach. And I think most of it has to do with, the facilities that they have, because, the facilities that they have, can't really, can't, you're not going to see that at the D2 level everywhere, right? So, but, and that's how I think that they utilize that to win a lot of their recruits over, because it gives them that Division I feel, and they feel that a lot of these kids really want to go D1. And so, so they win them over with that whole spiel. But I felt that their approach was super cocky, and I didn't like that. You don't feel the family atmosphere there. It's straight business to me. It's straight business, and that's one thing I didn't appreciate. I wanted to feel comfortable with it, but I just couldn't bring myself to feel comfortable with it. Now, in regards to their facilities, now everything is, well, let me talk about this. One thing I also was disappointed in was the weight room, which is one thing I take into consideration heavily. But the weight room, it was a separate building, but the equipment that they had in there, it looked like it was pretty antiquated. And I was just, it just didn't wow me, right? And so, so that's one thing I didn't like about the weight room. Another thing is that too, the medical staff, they didn't really talk much about that. They do have their own doctors and things like that. So if you got injured, they'll have their guys look at you. But they didn't really go in depth, about their medical staff and how they look to make sure that the players are putting themselves in a position, to win in regards to the physicality and, them, taking care of their bodies and things like that. So I thought that they would have had like a more in-depth presentation on that, but that didn't happen. So, other than that, those are the things that stuck out to me, throughout that whole GVSU experience. And I talked to a few people, and it's not surprising that we had that experience with GVSU, and it's pretty common. It's for my understanding. And there was a guy that I'm really cool with that I wouldn't dare put his name out there, but he also gave me some information too, because they kind of went through the same thing with GVSU, and so if you're considering them, just take it for what it is. You actually go through the process yourself and things like that, but just be on the lookout for these things that I'm talking about in the video. And that's what I wanted to share, and that's what I wanted to get out there in regards to my experience for GVSU. All right. Up next, I will do a review on Wayne State University, and I think you're gonna like that. We're gonna go real deep into it or whatnot. But if you got comments or questions, want to reach out to me or whatnot, just leave the information below, and we can definitely talk about it. Thank you for sitting in. Talk to you soon. Deuces.